BlogTalk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to another conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience. Today, we are broadcasting from the Panhandle of Florida. Kind of a funny name here. I have to look at the map again because it's kind of an odd name. It's called Funiac Springs. So I'm broadcasting to you from Funiac Springs in northern Florida, where it's about 90 some odd degrees and the humidity is a lot. The screen on my little cell phone here is fogging over. Today, this is our third installment of the series that we're doing on Kundalini and health. And before we get started, I'd like to thank Santara and her family from the Kingdom of Kerry of Ireland, and I would like to welcome her. And so, hello, Santara.
Hello, Chris, and hello, listeners. I'm in a lot cooler climate than you are there. So good to hear you, and hello from Ireland. And
I'm here with Eileen Laurel. This is her home state, and we'll be taking her down to Fort Myers. So for those of you who are just tuning into this program for the first time, I'd like to let you know some other resources for listening to this information. The first one is Kundalini, Kundalini, awakeningsystems1.com, and that's systems1, that's the number one. .com, and that's the main website put up by Glenn Ola. And so I would like to put out a thank you to Glenn Ola for designing and maintaining that website. There's also the Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at yahoogroups.com. There's a Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 on Facebook. There's a Kundalini exclamation point on Facebook. Kundalini Ashram, a Kundalini Ashram on Facebook, as well as Kundalini Healing on Facebook, as well as Yahoo Groups. There's also a YouTube channel called Chrism, and then the number 0 Kundalini, and that looks like Chrism O Kundalini. And that's at Yahoo. And currently we have about 258 videos, and I have more to add from my cross-continent journey over here to Florida. So feel free to partake of the information offered at those sites, and we will go ahead and begin. Kundalini and health. I'll try not to repeat what I spoke about in the last two installments. I'm going to go straight in to, for those new people that are tuning in right now, and for those who are listening in the archives for the first time, there's a system that I support called the Kundalini Awakening Safety Protocols, and these you can find on Kundalini Awakening Systems1.com. You go to that website; it's the fourth menu item down on the left, and you click onto that and you read these protocols, and these protocols are really for the health of the person who is having Kundalini or wanting to have Kundalini. So I just want to get that out right now. Once again, a little bit of a review. Kundalini is in charge of your health. When you have Kundalini takes over many of the systems of the body that regulate heart rate, regulate breathing, regulate enzyme production, regulate hormone production, regulate salt retaining production, regulate, almost all of the systems of the body the Kundalini will regulate. This doesn't mean that, all of a sudden, you're going to be doing everything different in your life. But it does mean that sometimes, all of a sudden, you will feel differently. Your body will respond differently to stimuli that you've responded to in one way before, but after Kundalini, it responds completely different. And I want you to know that this is normal. Many of the gifts that come along within the transformation are also normal kriyas, spontaneous movements, which we've talked about. The influence of discarnate entities, which we've talked about. Many of the systems that can play havoc with the person's ego consciousness, such as drinking caffeine or processed sugars, or eating in a very unhealthy way, or partaking of alcohol or drugs, which we have talked about. And so, if you want to hear those conversations, go back into the archives, and you can see that there's a lot of conversations listed there, and thumb through those and see which ones call to you the most. So to begin today, also I should give you the numbers here. So I'll give you the numbers. The guest call-in number is 347-934-0026. That's 347-934-0026. So let's begin. I was speaking with Amelia prior to the show just for a little bit. She suggested that we go ahead and begin with the organs of the body, and she suggested we start with the heart, and so I will. Let's start with the heart. The heart is the fourth chakra. The heart is the center of the human being. It is the place of emotions. It is the place of love. It is the place of divine connection, from a love-based, connection-based aspect. Without love, there is nothing. Without love, this universe falls apart. The multiverse falls apart. Love is the final firmament that the divine has placed our little experiment at being attached to materialism and then moving away from that attachment. Our cells, our bodies are concentrations of cellular communities, and these cellular communities are held together through the music of love. And love is such a huge, huge process and application and emotion and energy that an entire I could do 100 shows on Kundalini and the quality of love. But for this show here, the heart is a manifestation of life, and the continuous pulsation of life that allows us to stay in the body, that allows us to circulate the blood which is more of a plasma than it is an actual fluid. The blood is a liquid organ on the body, and this organ, when a person has Kundalini, is once again enhanced even further than it already is. It is enhanced in a way that allows certain phenomena to occur in the heart. So, for instance, the heart rate will be severely increased when a person has the Kundalini, and the Kundalini is coursing through the system. The heart rate will go up into a phenomenal level, which means really fast heart rate. This will send the person to the emergency room, typically, not because it's hurting them or it's not healthy for them, it's because it's so surprising to them, and they don't know to expect this with the Kundalini. So for all of you who are listening to this and who are striving to awaken the Kundalini, know that your heart rate will go very, very, very fast for a certain amount of time. Not for the rest of your life, but for a certain amount of time, yes, it will increase, as will your blood pressure go very high, and things of that nature. Alternatively, the heart rate can go very, very low and slow, and an MD taking your pulse will look at you and wonder how you're able to even stay conscious. So, once again, as I've mentioned in other programs, the spectrum of the human experience, and in this case, the spectrum of the response that the heart gives with regard to the Kundalini infusing it, will explore the different poles of that spectrum of expression. So, within the spectrum of expression of heart rate, you'll go extremely high and you'll go extremely low. And the same with the BP, the blood pressure, extremely high and then extremely low. And then after you have a few of these experiences, a level will be found, once again, by the Kundalini. A level will be found that is appropriate for that individual. I must stress that each person comes into this Kundalini experience as a unique individual. Nobody gets to have the same Kundalini awakening or activation process. We come to this world with different karma, and so with this different karma comes a unique awakening process for each and every individual. Now, there will be plenty of similarities, and yes, of course, we can learn from each other, but we do not want to look at each other in such a way that gives us the illusion that everybody's going to do it the same way, because it's just not going to be the case. Everybody's different. With the heart rate, they will hook you up at the ER. They'll hook you up. They'll put you on a treadmill. They'll do all the tests for cardiac emergency, and they'll typically, unless they're not being honest, they'll come back to you and they'll say, "Oh, Mr. Chrism, we couldn't find anything wrong with you. Maybe you're just a little nervous or stressed out." And off you go. And, if you don't have insurance, well, you've dropped quite a bit of money on that one little visit. And if you have insurance, well, then the insurance has dropped a lot of money on that one little visit. So just so you know, with the heart, feelings of love and emotions of love can stream out of the heart. Sometimes the Kundalini will take a hold of your heart, and it's literally a way that the Kundalini grabs hold of your heart, and you feel yourself led through different choices and decisions in your life from the heart. So, for instance, when I'm driving down the freeway and all of a sudden the Kundalini grabs my heart and pulls me towards the local hospital. Well, I know from enough experience that when I'm getting pulled to that local hospital, that there's a healing there that needs to be given. And so, I don't resist it, and I go to the hospital, and of course there's a parking space open for me, which just amazes me every time. And I park in the parking spot, and I go into the meditation or the chapel, and I go into meditation, and usually the person or the people that need to be healed appear in some way or form, a family member, whatever. And this is all led by the heart. The heart is the seat of the compassion response. It's the seat of the bliss response, to some degree of the bliss response within the body. And so the heart is a major organ of expression and experience within the Kundalini awakening experience that a person will have. Your heart will be guided by Kundalini. It will be guided in the heart rate, in the feeling, in what decisions that you make along the lines of compassion or healing work or things of that nature. And you may start to cry just by virtue of the love that is streaming through you in amazing levels, amazing experiential levels. I mean, these levels are very strong. And typically, if you try to resist it, well, you can't. You can't resist that. It'll just hurt you if you try to resist the expression, because as we've spoken about before, the tears and the crying are release valves for the amount of energy that's coming through, and in this case, coming through the heart. So the heart is a very, very, very special organ, and so you do, of course, you want to take care of the heart in maintaining proper cardiac function. So get out there and do some walking. Do not be a couch potato. Do not sit still except for, an hour or two of meditation. I'm going to suggest that you move. I'm going to suggest that you do the 5 Tibetan. I'm going to suggest that you do yoga. I'm going to suggest that you do Pilates or whatever kind of exercise routine you like to do. But the Kundalini wants you to move. It doesn't want you to be stationary. I don't care if you can only walk for 10 minutes. Well, then walk for that 10 minutes and then try to increase it to 12 and then 14 and then 20 and then, gradually increase it. More damage can be done to you within a Kundalini awakening context if you're constantly sitting still than really, sitting still is a form of resistance, and this is where many of the problems come to you, is from that level of resistance. So move your body, move, hike, run, jog, walk, exercise. If you live in Ireland and you've got nothing to do and it's raining outside, well, just go walk in the rain. Or if you live here in Florida, go walk on the beach. The beaches here in Florida are very beautiful. Go walk on the beach. Really get out and move. Move the body. It's very, very important for the heart rate and for the different polarities of spectrum that the heart manifests within a Kundalini excitation. Really, really, really do this, folks. I can't stress it enough. Nurture your heart through the nutrients that you partake of. I know that people like their pork here in the United States. People just love their pork, and in Ireland and Britain too, and some of the other countries around the world. I'm going to suggest you back off of the pork if you can, if it's something that you can do. Certainly bacon or really, really high cholesterol or really high fat diets that they taste wonderful. I'm sure they taste wonderful for those who like them. But if you're not moving around, then they're beginning to help those arteries clog. And this isn't just with pork, but this is with any of those. Driving across the country, I see these advertisements for monster hamburgers, and you look at what they're. Oh gosh! First of all, to even get your mouth around them is, you have to take it in sections. This was not what I would consider to be good cardiac health. I would do your best to stay away from the red meat unless the Kundalini is directing you towards it. There's a certain level of the Kundalini experience where you will be directed to eat red meat and any meat, and some of the strangest meats too, like venison or rattlesnake, or some of those types of wild meats. You may be given a compulsion to partake of, and I'm going to say, partake of them. Absolutely partake of them, but in a generally maintained nutritional context, begin to lighten up your diet. Get a lot of vegetables, get a lot of fruits, get a lot of nuts. Try not to just be, within a nutrition equation that is very, very limited. Expand it as much as you can and make sure you get that exercise. The heart rate needs to be exercised. So the arteries that feed the heart are like the arteries that feed the Kundalini. It's very, very necessary. If you look at some of the anatomical charts, you'll see that one area of the arteries that go into the heart are red, and the other that's coming out of the heart are blue, and things of this nature, which leads us straight into the lungs. The lungs are another very, very, very important organ complex within the human body. It's not just air that goes through the lungs; it's prana. Prana is an energetic life force that is in clear abundance here in Florida. The closer you get to the equator, the stronger the mixture of life forms occur, and then and competition increases, and all the different life forms are really struggling to be competitive and to survive, and prana is a part of that life force. It's very strong here in any of the tropical countries. Very strong in Martinique when I was down there as well. The lungs. If you do a type of a breathing prayer that I teach sometimes, you'll retain your breath for about 7 or 8 seconds, and then you'll slowly release that breath, and you'll feel that rush. You'll feel kind of an energetic rush as you exhale that air. That energetic rush is the production and the assimilation of prana within your body. When you inhale air and prana, your body transforms it into an energy that is conducive to chi production, chi production. Some people pronounce it ki, or I don't care. Chi looks like chi to me, so that's what it is to me. It's fairly uncomplicated. Anyway, so as you inhale the prana, this extreme life force anywhere on this world, and you hold it for a little bit, you'll feel the production of an energy within the body that is conducive to the energetic anatomy of the body. And we don't have a lot of books that show you the energetic anatomy of the human system, but there is one, and it is out there, and the lungs help produce that. And so once again, if you're sitting still a lot, your lungs are not being allowed to expand and compress, expand and compress, expand and compress, and your body isn't being given the opportunity to have that in and out airflow and that in and out energetic development. And so certain systems within your body become starved for energetic expression. And so the lungs are extremely important for this. So if you're a smoker, do your best to stop. Do your best to stop. I mean, do your best. And don't replace it with pot or anything else. Don't replace it with whatever those smokeless tobacco things are. I would like you to do your best to keep your lungs as clear and clean as you possibly can. You have to remember that the Kundalini awakening process is all about purification. It's not about trading one addiction for another, okay? Keep your lungs pure. Get out there and run in the jungle. I was speaking to another gentleman that I'll be visiting here in Florida, and, he'll drink 2 gallons of milk, and then he will take off through the jungle. And let me tell you, Florida, it's not forest, it's jungle. It's a jungle place. I'm looking at it. I was at a preserve in Biloxi, and geez Louise, it shares the coastline with Florida, so it's very similar wildlife and plant setup. And my gosh, it is as thick as the Amazon, and I have been into the Amazon. I know how it is there, and it's thicker. If not, it is thicker than the Amazon in some places. At least the part of the Amazon that I went through. It's a jungle down here, and it's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. For the lungs, it's a true blessing, because every plant gives off a different type of oxygen. The plants love the carbon dioxide, and they turn photosynthetics, change the carbon dioxide into oxygen. Well, each plant has its own flavor and signature of energetic quality that is given through that oxygen molecule. And so as you run through the forest or you run through the jungle, you're partaking of these different energetic nutritional signatures that each plant gives off. And I'm talking about the mosses, I'm talking about the pine trees, the liana vines, and all of the different types of plants that you get in the jungle environment. In addition to the prana that is developed, from mostly from 1 to 6 in the morning. So there's this huge menu, shall we say, of lung food in the jungle. And the lungs take it all in and they transform it, and it is as precious to you as life. It is as precious to you as your heart. It is as precious to you as your Kundalini is. Now, with the lungs, the Kundalini will regulate your breathing sometimes. Sometimes your breathing will go extremely high. She'll force you to do what the Sanskriti people call Vastrika, which is like bellows breath or breath of fire. Stuff like that. I hope you could hear that. I'm not sure. Could you hear that, Amelia?
Yeah, I could hear that.
Okay, thank you.
Sounded like a bellows.
Yep, like a bellows. It'll go very, 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 very fast. And if you don't know what's happening, once again, fear will seep into the equation. But because you're listening to this broadcast, you do know that it's a natural part of the Kundalini control over the cardiovascular system. And this is the vascular system that we're talking about here, the breathing, the lungs. It'll also slow your breath down to the point where you'll stop breathing. And this really scares people. They'll be sitting there in meditation, and all of a sudden, they'll just stop breathing for a long time. And worse yet, they won't feel the need to breathe because the Kundalini is taking the place of the vascular system, or the lungs are just being put on hold for a moment. This is a gift of the Kundalini. This is a phenomenon of the Kundalini. This is not anything to be afraid of. However, when it happens to you, you can sit here and listen to Chrism until the cows come home, but if it happens to you, oh my God, I think I'm going to die. But you're not. You're not going to die. This is a fairly common experience that people have with the Kundalini. It just stops your breath. And you don't die, you don't go to the next world, you don't do anything except you just kind of feel the control that the Kundalini is exerting over the body's requirement of having air or breathing air, a certain number of times per minute. So understand this and know this, that the Kundalini will take control of your lungs. Now, the other thing is, if you have been smoking, if you have been living in a harsh city, a toxic environment, if you've been living around a lot of dust, like I have in my life, I've lived a lot of dust. My lungs are still being purged after all these years. I can tell you how bad it was. I used to be a farmer and working on farms, and this was before the days where they had the enclosed cabins on the tractors, and so you're just breathing a lot of dirt, a lot of dust, a lot of diesel particulate matter, a lot of smoke, a lot of nasty stuff. I would really, really counsel you to get into a cleaner environment if you can, number one. I have to say it. I know that not everybody's in a position where they just, okay, Chrism said for me to move, off I go. So, no, I'm not expecting you to do that. I am expecting you, if you can do it, then do it. Okay? If you cannot, then you just, you're going to deal with life the way it is. You will start to cough. The Kundalini will begin to purge your lungs. And I want you to be okay with the coughing. You may have fits of coughing. Oh, my gosh, fits, and fits. And at this point, I want you to really pay attention to the intuition that the Kundalini is giving you. Well, is the current environment that I'm living in conducive to my breathing health, my vascular health? Is it helping me or hurting me? And can I move? Do I have the ability to move to a different place? And if so, am I willing to go there? I'm going to ask you to consider doing that. It is not, the lungs are just too important. They're just too important. Okay, I want you to get out. I want you to start singing. If you go to church, sing in the church. If you like sing in the shower, sing in the shower. Singing is a way of controlled breathing, and it usually brings people joy. Maybe not those people that are hearing you, as in my case, but to yourself, it brings you joy. It's a form of expressing love through you, or it's a way of channeling emotions through your body that allow you to express them and not keep them bottled up in the many ways that we humans like to do. So start singing. As I mentioned with the heart, cardiovascular exercise is very, very important. And as much as possible, and I did mention this, but I'm going to mention it now, do it outside. I know, for those of you who live in Los Angeles and Detroit and New York and Baltimore and, Houston and many of these places where the outside is worse than the inside, then do it inside. Do it at your gym if you must. One of the reasons I don't like circulated air systems is because toxic molds, grow in HVAC systems, and they're typically not maintained or cleaned. It's just like at the hospital. They don't clean the ceiling. Okay? All the guts and blood and spatters, it goes right up there on the ceiling, and, we'll just ignore that. And the other thing is very few places will clean those air ducts. And so that's one of the reasons why I say just get outside. Summer, winter, spring, fall, get outside as much as you can, even if it's just walking bundled up in a jacket in the dead of winter. Don't endanger yourself, of course. Don't do that. But do your best to get fresh prana, fresh air into those lungs. The lungs will appreciate it. Now, there's certain aspects of the lungs that are called the alveoli, and these are part of the processing of oxygen and carbon dioxide within the cardiovascular systems. When you're smoking, you clog these up. And they're not able to work properly. And so if you, as much as possible, I don't really care if you're, addicted to, say, marijuana or something like that. Marijuana, to me, is not a deadly drug. Eat it. Make those cookies or the brownies or whatever. Just eat it. Just don't take the smoke into your lungs. And with tobacco, I don't like you eating that either. If you've ever seen the nicotine molecule, it's like sharp swords and daggers going up and down. You can only imagine what that's doing now. But I understand people like to have their smokes, and they like to have their chewing tobacco, and so I understand that too. You can have Kundalini and still be addicted to these things, although the Kundalini will probably attempt to unaddict you to them. And so the lungs are very, very important, and one of the things that I'm going to suggest that you do is when you're doing a breathing meditation, when I say, follow the breath, you hear the master's going, oh, my child, yes, you just must follow the breath, follow the breath, follow the breath, And the Americans looking at that and going, well, follow the breath, and envisioning this little cloud of air following it around town. This is not what they mean. I had a hard time with it, too. I was like, gosh, But the Kundalini gives you some very, very explicit instruction. It's not following the breath. It's paying attention to the breath. Forcing yourself to breathe a certain way, like with the Bastrika or the breath of fire. It forces you to go very, very fast with it. Well, alternatively, it'll give you the inclination to go very, very slow and deep, and do that. And this can take you into many of the meditative absorptive states, which I have yet to speak of on this broadcast. So know this about the lungs. I could stay on the lungs for a long time, but I'm not going to. I have to move on. The kidneys, very important. The adrenals, very important. I've kind of gone through those systems before, but I'll briefly touch on them again. The kidneys monitor the amount of waters in the system, the amount of salts that are in the system. The kidneys are one of the organ systems that you'll really feel expand beyond your belt line. When the Kundalini reaches the kidneys will expand up to about 1/3 of their normal size. And so when you put a belt on, I wear a belt with my jeans, and so I'm wearing a belt, and I can feel my kidneys arcing over my belt line, and you go and you feel back and you go, oh my gosh, you've never felt your kidneys this big before. Most of you have never felt your kidneys before, and then when the Kundalini comes, you feel the kidneys. You say, "Oh my word, what is going on?" And so this is just part of the infusion. It's nothing to be concerned about. It is a good thing. The kidney systems or the urinary systems are experiencing the Kundalini infusion. And this infusion goes through and it upgrades all the cells from a 12-volt system to a 12 million volt system. And so, of course, you're going to feel that a little bit. And with the adrenals that sit right on top of the kidneys, well, you'll also, that system will begin to hyper-express, and a lot of adrenaline will go into your system. And if you don't know what's happening, you become very paranoid and very frightened, very scared, very angry at times. And, all it is it's extra adrenaline, fight or flee hormone coming into the body without the body having anything to fight or flee from. And so the ego will create something to fight or flee from. And so I've talked about this before. And so this is what occurs. And so, of course, you take anything that's going to stimulate the adrenals out of your diet, such as caffeine, such as processed sugars, processed flours, high fructose corn syrups. You take out anything that begins to manifest as a stimulant upon the body. So when you're drinking your tea, no more black tea. Black tea has more caffeine in it than a cup of coffee. I know a lot of you don't know that, but it's true. Even green tea has 4 milligrams, typically 4 milligrams of caffeine in it. And I'm going to ask you to stop drinking that. Caffeine stays in the body for 36 hours. For that 36 hours, you're going to have some real problems trying to sleep. You're going to have some real problems trying to relax. You're going to have some real problems trying to meditate. These are important issues, and so you really need to pay attention. And I've touched on this before, so I'll move on. Pancreas, the Isles of Langerhans, monitoring the different levels of sugar in the body and manifesting, certain elements within the pancreas that allow for a balancing of sugars and the body's response to sugars in the bloodstream. This too will become infused. You may not feel it so much, but your cravings for sugar may begin to change. Sometimes you'll have an amazing increase of sugar intake. You'll just desire it so much. To the other end of the spectrum, which will be absolutely not. You won't even want to look at it. I mean, there's nothing. You won't want any of it. And so over a short period of time, the Kundalini will find that balance for you, and the Isles of Langerhans will do their work. Moving into the liver. The liver is a level of detoxification. The Kundalini will detox the liver. You'll feel movement. You'll feel movement within the perineum. Not perineum. Definitely the wrong word there. The pericardium, I guess. I'm getting into my old anatomy. There's a tissue that holds all the organs together inside the thorax of the human, and you'll start feeling movement within that. Sometimes your liver is going to jump. The lobes of the liver will jump. The intestines, of course, with their peristalsis will jump. The liver is a part of the whole detoxification process, and it will get detoxed. Your excrement, your number 2, may become much darker than would merit the food that you're eating. That's part of the detoxification program that the liver has a part to play in. If you have liver stones or anything of that nature, don't worry about that because the Kundalini will take care of that. Your liver is a very, very powerful organ, extremely powerful. And as the Kundalini comes through it, it is changing every cell of the liver, throughout the lobe of the liver. It's really changing it and adjusting it to be able to withstand and to handle and to participate within the new Kundalini community within the thorax of the human system. The Kundalini is working in very close connection with the gallbladder and the bile and the whole bit. Okay, so don't be surprised that the liver is going to be very active within the infusion. And, it's going to come across a difference. It'll have a lot to do with your energetics, how much energy you have to do this or that. What part of the detox you're in will determine how much energy you have. When you're doing certain movements in yoga, you may faint because of the level of detoxification that's occurring. So be careful when you're doing yoga, especially the hot yoga, and you're doing moves that really work the liver. Be very careful with that because you just might fall over backward, and I don't want you to hurt yourself. The intestines, moving into the intestines. The intestines are a huge electrical coil, but it's not electricity that they're manifesting. It's chi. It's the major second chakra area of chi energy that gets expanded and circulated within the body with the intestines. And of course, taking the energy from food and the whole peristaltic digestive movements, the snake-like movements of the intestine. Very, 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 very strong. This is there's an electrical term that I can't think of right now, but the intestines build energy. They will take a small amount of energy and expand it and expand it and expand it and expand it. This is what they do with chi in Indonesia. It's a combat technique called Margaluyu, Margaluyu, Luyu. You can look it up on the web. It's fairly. People are ringing bells from a distance, but it's by contracting the second chakra and the chi, shooting chi at each other is kind of what they do. And if your chi is strong enough, well, then you can hurt that other warrior or something like that. It's I won't say it's a misuse. It's just another use for what people do within deep levels of competition with one another. And so once again, here we have the intestines, this huge capacitor. That's the word I was looking for. This huge capacitor for chi energy. Okay, chi is adopted by the Kundalini. It's part of as the wave of Kundalini comes up. The chi is also transformed into an energy that becomes the expressive aspect of the Kundalini. It's changed from chi into Kundalini. Okay, basically, Kundalini is in charge of everything, and so what it does is it takes over everything in its path. It takes over the organs, the bones, the bone marrow, the blood, everything of the human being. It takes it over. It changes it completely. So just so you know that once the Kundalini is up, then it is Kundalini. You don't get to call it chi energy anymore. It is Kundalini energy after that. So just so you know. As we move into the reproductive system, male and female, they basically do very, very similar things, and yet, of course, they're positive and negative. They're opposed in those types of ways, so that the key fits into the lock, and the lock is formed to accept the key. The two become one, and the one become two. Both genders have a series of fluids that collect in order to express within the reproductive situation. Both genders have 7 fluids that come together that, just like the 7 chakras, the 7 musical notes, you can just go on and on with what 7 does within the human system. And one is internal, one is external. With the female, they're in a unique position where they're not losing reproductive fluidics. as much as, say, the males are. So, of course, when the males give that energy or express that energy, certain losses can take place. And so this is why many of the ancients would say, oh, well, it's better just to be celibate and not have that kind of fluidic release, whereas some other ancients would say, oh, well, have that fluidic release 3 or 4 times a day, depending on the season. This would be the ancient Chinese. I feel that that's the better method myself. This whole idea of celibacy has been kind of given a level of confusion for many people through certain belief systems that say, oh, you give your sex to God or you give your sexual expression to God. God doesn't really want that. He gave it to you for a reason. He didn't give it for you to give it back to him or her, for that matter. So it's for you to work with. God has other things that he's dealing with, that she's dealing with. So, with regards to the I want to go to one area on the men right now, the prostate gland. Prostate gland is not something that's just sitting there not doing anything. A modern medical science says, well, prostate, it has some use. We're sure that there's a use there for it. Prostatic fluid comes from there, so. But they don't really have an idea of how the prostate's utilized within the anatomical system. And, the Kundalini uses that. Kundalini, the prostate is kind of like a pump. It's a reverse pump, and it will pull the 7 fluids that the various glands within the male reproductive system has in it, and it will pull reproductive fluids from the testicles and up the vas deferens and then back into the prostate gland and then into the spine. And, the doctors will dissect some poor guy who's died. So, we're not seeing any spinal openings here. How does this work out? So, they're looking for empirical, scientific, let's vivisect a person proof. And the Kundalini doesn't really require that. It just does it. And it may do it through a series of energetic osmosis, just the way that water vapor comes through a glass, through the osmosis. So can energy travel from the prostate and the fluidic energies within the prostate that are being collected there by the Kundalini into the spinal cord. And so, the prostate is very important. Don't let them go and irradiate it or core it out like an apple. Don't do those things. It's got a very, very important job to do. Okay, very important job. It's just like the thymus gland, which is right under the sternum. For many, many, many years, it's like, it's just the thymus is, it's just there, and we think it's better if we just remove it. And then a few years later they go, it's a major part of the immune response. And so, within that understanding, you kind of want to have people keep their hands off of your organs as far as the surgeons go, unless you absolutely must, without any shadow of a doubt. It's just so bad, whatever, that it has to go. Then I understand that, of course, your life is more important than the organs. So I understand that as well. And then I know that the females will lose fluid every month, and actually that's quite powerful stuff. A lot of the ancients called that starfire, and they would consume that when it was taken from a certain type of a female at a certain age and during a certain time of life. They would try to use that as a Kundalini awakening process. And, sure, fine. If that's where your focus is, great. You can go ahead and do that. It might work, but I think the safeties are a much more viable way. I know the safeties will work. The Shaktipat that I give will work. So, there are many different ways to explore the Kundalini, through the major organs. The womb of life within the human female is a huge thing. It's major importance. It is what the tailbone is to our Kundalini. The womb is to our existence. So the sacred feminine, I don't understand how people can treat women so poorly in this world, in this society, except that they're just too afraid of the power that the women would have if they weren't treated so poorly. It's amazing that there's even a word for abusing females of the human species. This is just amazing to me, and I'm gonna put it out there right now. Don't hurt the women. Don't hurt the girls. Honor them as a visual aspect of the sacred feminine in your life. Honor them, love them, help them, assist them, nurture them. Give to them the qualities of divine forbearance and nurturing that you, as a man or woman, would want to give to a cherished child or a loved one. Really, 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 mothers. Just because in this society the men are so destructive towards females doesn't mean that you have to adopt it. And if it happened to you, doesn't mean you have to pass it on to the next generation. Stop it with you. Stop it. We need to honor the sacred feminine that we see in the eyes and the hearts of every woman on this planet. No more female genital mutilation. I have a real heart problem with that. It's just so not right. Kundalini is not like that at all. So none of that. None of that is allowed. Boy, you don't want me to be king in this world, I tell you. I've had this conversation with Amelia. Boy, would there be some changes. No more Sharia, no more stoning women just because, somebody looked at them askew. Anyway, getting off this topic here. So we're moving on. The skeletal system. The skeletal system is also one of the major systems that will be modulated by the Kundalini. Your bones will change. As I mentioned in some of the other shows, your cranial plates will realign. The ligatures will loosen, and the ligatures are the sutures of the skull. That if you look at a skull, you'll see these little suture marks and these little plates that are coming across. Those of you who have a medical understanding know what I'm talking about. The cranial plates will move, and they're not moving just because they feel like moving today. Oh, it's a beautiful day, let's move. They're moving because Kundalini is telling them, and it's controlling it, causing the cranial plates to readjust themselves around the fontanelle. Sometimes you'll feel as if you have a pointy head. It's kind of an odd feeling. Anyway, so the skeletal system will be changed, which means that the marrow system will also be changed, and the amount of and the quality of the blood in the system, which is developed in the bone marrow, will also change. These are part of the movements that the Kundalini will take within a person. It changes everything. And as I think I mentioned last week, you'll feel the muscles tightening in your chest. For me, and this is just for me, and remember, we're all unique. For me, it was a plating that would occur. I felt plating. It's like these amazingly strong plates. Now, I don't mean dinner plates, okay? I mean like tectonic plates within my body. Came into this supreme alliance. They all lined up, which corresponded with all the chakras opening up at the same time. This is a spinal sweep that I'm describing here. But it's a spinal sweep that doesn't just occur with the chakras opening. This is what you typically hear. Many of the New Age people are going, oh, yes, all the chakras open up. And it's not just that at all. It's this huge multiple system of alignment that occurs. And this is what makes it so amazing to the person experiencing it. And so for me, I felt these tectonic plates within my spine and my hips and my legs and my chest, and everything just came into this amazing alignment. And then, of course, the freight train up the spine, and exploding out the top of the head, and the oneness with everything. This has a lot to do with the skeletal system. When the skeletal system lines up, certain things are going to happen. And so when you're doing the 5 Tibetans, well, you're not just conditioning energy flows, even though you are. You're also conditioning the skeletal flows and the organs that are functioning within the I think the myocardium, pericardium, whatever it is. All of the organs are also being conditioned. Let me see how much time I have. I always forget I'm running out of time here. Oh, my gosh. Oh, good. I'm going to open this up to questions right now. The call-in number is 347-934-0026. Let's go into the eyes. The eyes are an amazing system. They're the two physical eyes are part of a tertiary system, which includes the third eye, not surprisingly. The third eye can manifest visual phenomena upon the lower two physical eyes. Okay, so the third eye can manifest visual phenomena on the lower two physical eyes. This is what gives you the waking vision. This is what gives you the vision that you're the only one who can see. Unless the person next to you is also experiencing, Kundalini, of that nature and of that expression. And so, as the sixth chakra goes, so too will the physical eyes move. Physical eyes are also a force of energy. The eye is an amazing thing. I could go on and on and on about the eyes. The eyes, with their black and white seeing and their color seeing. I'm trying to stay away from the hard anatomical words here like cones and things that people don't really have a lot of understanding about. I'm going to get actually a little bit worse. The eyes emit energy. The energy that the eyes emit is consciousness. So the eyes will emit awareness. And so if you're 12 years old and you're watching that beautiful woman undress outside the pond, somewhere, wherever, and she all of a sudden feels somebody staring at her, she turns around. It's because she's feeling your awareness that your eyes are projecting upon her. Okay? People can feel awareness. It's a fairly strong sensation, and the eyes produce it. Some of you have been to my seminars. You've heard me say that that vision has weight. Vision has a physical weight that once, the scientific measurement device comes into being, for vision to be weighed, one can actually measure the force of vision that is coming from a human eye. Okay, so this plays a part in some of the exalted skills that come into being with regards to a person who is visualizing something, putting awareness into an intended visualization and adding that energy from that awareness from the eyes. Okay, or if you look at my healing picture that I always have people look at because they want to receive a healing or they want to practice devotion in different ways. We do a form of tritaka that allows your intention from your visual matrices or your eyes to connect with the Kundalini in the picture of the healing picture that people are using for this purpose. It's amazingly strong. And Kundalini, once again, Kundalini can replicate itself in any way, shape, form that it wants. And so if it wants to come out of that picture into your eye, well, then it does. And it does so quite strongly. And for those of you who wonder what that picture is, if you go to Kundalini Awakening systems1.com, and you go to help and support, and then you further scroll on down to about Chrism, and you see this picture, and with a bio right next to it. Well, you copy that picture, hard copy it, because I don't like you staring into a computer screen. Hard copy that picture, and then stare into the eyes and wait and feel that energy coming from the picture. Then you'll see what I'm talking about here. But the eyes are exceptionally powerful. They are like fingers of awareness that reach out from your eye socket and massage the environment around you. They can massage it with love. That, just the way you can hit a tree, or you can embrace a tree with your hands. You can do the same thing with your eyes. You can embrace with love, loving eyes. You can embrace with anger, angry eyes. All of the emotions that you can use with any of your other capacities, any of your other, sight, touch, that type of thing. The eyes can mimic it as well. And in many ways, like when mom gives you that certain look, like, Chrism, what are you doing? Just from that one look, that you better stop doing what you're doing. Doesn't have to lift a finger. She just has to look at you that special way. And without a shadow of a doubt. Same with Dad. If Dad says, stop doing that. Well, he doesn't have to say that. He can just look at you as you're doing what you're doing, and you'll stop doing what you're doing. Amelia.
Yes?
Do you do that with your kids? Do you give them the mom eye?
Yes, I think all moms have that ability. Of course. I don't have to say anything. You can just look, but it can be good as well, though. It's not always a stop that thing. There are, I can look as well, and they know, yeah, well done, or they know other things,
right. That's right. Any emotion.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to stop and let you make this announcement if you would like to go ahead and do that.
Thank you. I wanted to do that. Thank you very much. I just want to say to everybody again, and take this opportunity to let you know that Chrism works 24/7, as you know, teaching people about Kundalini, and he doesn't charge for his teachings, but he makes them freely available for everybody. And this radio show that you're listening to now is just one of the sources of Kundalini information and support that Chrism gives. And to those of you who are listening live to us now, or who are listening on the archive and would like to support Chrism or are able to support Chrism, then you can do that by making a donation. And be it large or small, it will be gratefully received. So I will give you the place that you can go. It is www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com, and I'll give you that again. It's actually Chrism's blogspot, and there's a donate button at the top right-hand corner. www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com. And if you don't have a biro and you're listening, you can always Google it by just putting in Chrism Blogspot Ascension, and you'll find it in that manner as well. Thank you for that, Chrism.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you, everyone who donates and who, puts some of their energy into keeping these teachings alive. Thank you, everyone. So as we continue with the eyes will be controlled and will relinquish their control to the Kundalini. Kundalini can make you blind. They can just take away the eyesight for a while. The eyesight is not so much controlled by force of ocular muscular movement. It's a force of consciousness, a force of awareness, a force of survival that the body has. The Kunalini can just take that away for a moment, just to let you know that you are not any longer a person that is normal. I guess I use that term loosely. Okay, it doesn't do that typically though, but it has done that with some folks. For me, even before I started the show today, I turned around and I was grabbing a towel to wipe the copious amounts of sweat dripping down me, and the Kundalini took over my eyesight, and showers of sparks, showers of energy were swirling around me. You know, as I get ready for the broadcast, and they're so beautiful. And nobody else can see them. You know, no NSA, you know, secret super duper machine can see this or register this or know this or understand this. Only you can see this. And they're never something to be afraid of. You know, as the Kundalini takes over your eyesight and superimposes a swirling mass of sparks and energy that totally impedes your normal vision. It's okay. It's normal. It's not coming while you're driving 70 miles an hour down I-95. It's not doing that. It's waiting until you're sweating to death in a Walmart parking lot in some Springs town, turning around, reaching for a towel, and it's okay, here we go, boom, and it takes over your eyesight. And so know this. It's like Kundalini will do this, and it's okay. It's perfectly okay. As you surrender to this process, as you learn to live and love and laugh and embrace this Kundalini within you, you'll have many strange phenomena, and some of those phenomena will include certain body functions or normal basic functions being changed. Now notice it didn't make me go blind. It just superimposed another field of energy, visual energy, over the one that I'm used to the physical, should I say, viewing capacities. And so as the third eye controls the two lower eyes, so will your ability to see certain phenomena increase or decrease. Entities. I can see entities whenever I want. But it shifts. It goes from the ocular position of looking at a stop sign or looking at this store called the shoe department. I'm looking at the shoe department right now. And then when I consciously switch it to the pineal, then I can see the entities that are connected to, actually a lot of them are connected to this program right now that I'm seeing, specifically one. Anyway, so you can see the entities. You can see the energetic life forms that are around you, around other people, inside other people. You can see people's broken hearts. You can feel it. You can see it and feel it at the same time. This is what I call split viewing. You can see the energetic spiritual at the same time that you're seeing the physical mundane. Okay, so the eyes are just amazing. And then I have to add another eye, because there is another eye to add. The eye that I'm adding to this is the seventh chakra eye, EY. And this is the eye that the entire top of the head turns into and allows you to see in 360-degree vision. No joke, no joke. I'm sure you've seen, some of you may have seen a few of the pictures floating around the internet of the top of a person's head being this giant eye with the eyelid and the extending down to where the sixth chakra is. The top of the human head literally can be turned into a 360-degree visual eye, staring at the heavens and everything around you. Okay, so actually this is a mutation of the not a mutation, but a permutation of the third eye. The third eye can just look up instead of looking straight out. So there are the eyes. Let's go in, because I'm not quite sure if there's anybody calling in. Do I have a? No. Okay, good. So let's talk about the brain. The bicameral brain. The brain, of course, is a very important organ within the Kundalini. The Kundalini takes over the brain completely. You become unicameral. No more are you bicameral, which means, divided in half. Your brain becomes a wholeness, even though you may not be allowed to experience the vast capacity that wholeness is. You will experience certain developments within that wholeness that will help you manifest your destiny within a Kundalini awakened experience. Okay. Let me clear some things up about Kundalini awakening. This may not be your first time Kundalini awakening. You may once you get into the Kundalini and you begin to take lives or take bodies that after you have the first Kundalini, you're always going to have a Kundalini body after that, unless some sort of a karmic event occurs that pushes you back into an unawakened state. By unawakened, I mean a body that does not have the probability of awakening the Kundalini. With Kundalini, you take the energy with you. Incarnation after incarnation after that. I know for a fact that this is not my first time with Kundalini, that I came back here to do this type of work with people. As I came into this world, even as a young child, I can remember things that I shouldn't be able to remember, breastfeeding, for example, or other types of scenarios that I can remember. But even worse, what you keep from a Kundalini awakening is you keep many of the exalted skills. They come right along with you. Okay? You keep what you earn. You keep what you earn. And by having a Kundalini awakening in this life, greatly increases the propensity that the next life that you're going to take, you're going to bring this Kundalini awakening with you. And it may not happen, the skills may happen with you as in this future child that you'll become, but that body that child is will also need to reawaken its Kundalini. So you don't come in typically with your spine on fire. You come in with the vestiges of a previous life, with the exalted gifts of the Kundalini. You come in with the probability, the strong probability, that future body's spine will indeed light up with Kundalini, and you'll go through this whole Kundalini awakening process again. But it'll be in addition to the previous one or two that you've already had. Those exalted skills will blend right over into the new ones. And this is how a person comes into the divine evolution. So, if you look at it, you can say that with the organs, the eyes, the brain, the heart, the spleen, all of these areas, they're part of the physical mundane evolution towards Kundalini. Once Kundalini comes up, then the evolutionary expression changes to divine evolution. No longer is it mundane evolution or mundane physical. It is physical divine. It changes that whole expression. And I apologize for the road noise that you're hearing. Once again, I'm at a Walmart in a city in northern Florida, and this is the best place that I could find within the circumstances that I'm in right now. So, let's see here. Trying to get back online. There we are. Okay. So if you have any questions about this, if you have any questions about your Kundalini awakening experience, the number is 347-934-0026. So feel free to call that number. Moving on, so no longer will you have the bicameral brain. You'll have the unicameral brain. You'll have a one brain. One of the systems that were developed for out-of-body stimulation by Robert Monroe he called it hemisync, hemispheric synchronization. That meant synchronization of the two hemispheres of the brain. Well, that works great. It works great for going out of body, and if people want to explore that, then they should. I've used it. It works. It's a great process. With the Kundalini, I will suggest that you do not use brain frequency modulation in order to stimulate Kundalini awakening. Plenty of that stuff out there right now. Even on YouTube, you can get it for free. I forget what the terms are for it, but with regard to brain health, I suggest that you do not use brain entrainment systems. I will suggest that you do the work. It's not just the brain. It's the brain. It's the body. It's the consciousness. It's the interplay between you and your environment, your physical environment, your emotional environment, your mental environment, your ego-based environment. It's working all 5 expressions of the body. All 5. It's not just putting on a pair of headphones and going, ooh, that's a cool sound. Let's see what it does to my brain frequency. I don't suggest you do this. And I understand that certain things can be activated from that, but it's a very, very, very short path into Kundalini syndrome. Not something that I want any of you to experience, which is the whole reason why I'm doing these broadcasts. So the bicameral brain, the unicameral brain, whole brainness, you become male and female at the same time. You become white and black at the same time. You become here and there at the same time. You become human divine. When the spinal sweep occurs and the great pulse of Kundalini goes through the spinal and explodes through the brain, through the 7th chakra, the 6th and the 7th chakra, this unicameral experience occurs, and this is part of what causes a person to feel at one with everything. At one with everything. At one with divinity. At one with the mundane. At one with every piece of sand, every leaf, every grass, every creature, every human, everywhere, all the time, at the same time. It's the flowering of the crown chakra. And it's the brain becomes this part of the conduit of divine expression through you on this world. So the brain's a huge deal. This is a huge deal because if you look at the brain, you have the 2 sides of the brain, but you also have the reptilian brain, the mammalian brain. You have the many different lobes of the brain, where memory or emotional expressions are located. You have all of these different environments within the brain itself, the lower brain stem, autonomic functions, all of that stuff. And so when the Kundalini comes, it exalts each of these environments. I believe there are 7 environments of the brain. So you add that to your 7 the suggestions of how important 7 systems are to the human equation. So the brain is a very big deal. It's a very, very big deal. And it is the seat of the oneness. Just like the heart is the seat of the loving oneness. Both the heart and the brain are a very big deal. And I don't want you to confuse the brain with mental function, even though it is a part of that. Don't it's not, I think right-lefted, or I think left-brained, or all of this stuff. These are just mental permutations of people that have not yet had the whole brain experience that Kundalini brings. they're struggling to figure out why a person does such thing. And they don't know that it's basically an evolution towards oneness, whole brain functions that they're struggling to perceive. The brain is not just about mental function. When a person experiences bliss, the bliss and the love is felt in the head as well as the heart. You feel like your head's going to explode with love sometimes. There's a direct, from the fontanelle, a line of energy extends upward, and it extends into the heavenly, divine environment. And that environment backfeeds. It backfeeds an energetic pulse back down through the fontanelle, into the brain and into the body. And that backfeed is ecstatic or blissful experiences. And it's strong. It's so strong and beautiful. Very beautiful, very loving. Of course, if you're in a fear of it, you're having Kundalini syndrome, well then your ego mind will adjust that into being a very painful, terrible, fearful experience. But hopefully none of you are having that experience right now who are listening to it. And those who are, you can begin to adjust your thinking, because it's a very, very, very strong, beautiful thing that you're having. That divine backfeed through the fontanelle, into the brain, into the heart, and into the entire body of the human system. So the brain, once again, like the heart, I could do 100 shows on just the brain, the frontal lobes, the reptilian brain, the mammalian brain, all of these different levels and environments of the brain. But I'm not. I'm going to go right to the ears now. The ears are, I get blown away by when I look at these from a Kundalini perspective, I just think, oh my God, the divine artwork. The divine artwork. You can look at a person's ear and you can tell the way their life is going to go. The Chinese do it with, I don't know. I hesitate to call it iridology because I know they're dealing with the iris, but I think iridology is more appropriate to the ears, don't you? Anyway, as you look at the ear, the outside of the ear, and the different folds and the different lines of the ear, this is a signature. No two ears are alike. No two people's ears are alike, except maybe twins. Twins might have some very similar things going on, but even then, they're unique. And as you look at the waves and the concaves and the permutations of the human ear, it's not just physical sound or physical-based sound that the ears are designed to pick up. They're designed to pick up spiritual sound or energetic sounds as well. I hear energetic frequencies 24/7, and sometimes I hear them through a specific ear. I'll hear one frequency, one very strong frequency coming through an ear. And in many ways, this is a spiritual. This can be an entity maybe trying to communicate with you, or a download is occurring for you. If you're K-awake, you might hear a very low echo. What will happen is your ear will feel like it's being completely covered up and smothered by an energetic force. And so, we'll just say your left ear is all of a sudden, it's like hearing, but it's hearing underwater. Your right ear is just being normal, but your left ear is like hearing underwater, and you feel this type of vibration coming through, and it lasts for about a minute, maybe less, and it fades away. And a download has been achieved, or communication has been achieved. You may not know. Don't try to figure it out. You can feel it more than you can figure it. But the ears are designed for this. This is to let you know that the universe of hearing is as strong as the universe of seeing. The universe of hearing is as strong as the universe of seeing. You can hear a person's intentions in their words. You can hear a person's feelings in their voice. of voice. You can hear, some of you can feel the Kundalini in my voice as it comes through. And it's coming through to you right now through your ears. There are those of you that are inside of my Shakti Pot tonight. Oh, and by the way, hello everybody inside the Shakti Pot. It's been going very well. I'm almost thinking of doing traveling every time I do a Shakti Pot because it seems to really resonate strongly. And the Shakti Pot is going very well. Tonight is the crown chakra. Yay, yay, hello, hello. And just for those of you who are following the instructions, tonight, let go and let God. Let the divine do its work. You take your consciousness out of the equation. Wear nothing is best if you can get away with it. If you can't get away with it, wear white for purity. Okay. So that's for those of you inside the Shakti Pot. Shakti Pot, for those of you who don't know what that is the gifting of my energy to those who would wish to receive the Kundalini from me within them. And I do this on the solstice and the equinox throughout the year. I've only missed once, which was last winter, because I just needed to take a break. So I was allowed to take that break. Anyway, so the ears will hear intention, the ears will hear energy and feel energy, and in ways they're like tentacles that reach into the energetic radiance fields. You can feel radiance with your ears, with your hearing of the ears. Celestial music is a very, very strong, exalted form of music that will hit the ear and then from the ear permeates the entire body. You can hear celestial music with Kundalini. Okay, it'll happen. Doesn't happen for everyone, but it does happen for some. So the ears are very, very, and they're working 24/7. They're very strong. They're working 24/7. You don't just hear with the ears, but you do hear with the ears. The portion of the brain that is dedicated to hearing is stimulated by the Kundalini, so you can hear other frequencies much of the time. So, like I hear it all the time. Amelia, do you hear this? Do you hear the music of energy frequencies?
I do hear it on occasions. I hear a lot of vibrations and high-pitched sounds and a kind of a background noise quite often, a bit like a pulse too sometimes.
How about you, Rosemary? Do you hear any of this? Didn't think I was going to call on you, did you?
Actually,
hey, Rosemary.
Hi. Chrism, that's
Hi,
interesting.
Rosemary.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, loud and clear.
Okay. It's interesting that you should ask that because I don't hear music, and I haven't heard it recently, but I remember in these last couple years that when I would get into bed and be lying there going off to sleep, it was like there were conversations in the background, like far away. They were just sounds that were like voices. And it wasn't machinery sound, because I know those, we all know those in our house. But I said, I think that's just all what it is. It didn't scare me. It was just there.
Yeah, well, no, none of this should scare you. Of course, when you don't have the information, some of it can be quite disconcerting, and that can lead into fear. And thank you, Rosemary, for responding. I'm going to put you back there to protect you. Here we go. And yeah, it can be very, very. I mean, you can literally have an entity shout your name in an empty room, and your ears will hear it. Your ears will pick that up. It'll pick up the divine music. It'll pick up the divine whisperings. Okay, it'll pick up the crickets and the many insects that you can hear with and feel with your ears, but you can't see them with your eyes. You can hear them loud and clear, chirping, chirping, chirping. You can hear the hum of the bees. You can hear your name being called. But there's no one there, and there's no bug there, there's no insect there, there's nothing there. Except you can hear it. So it is there. It's just not there on a visual wavelength. Okay? Certainly not a mundane visual wavelength. And so the ears are another set of eyes, in my opinion. They're just looking in a different frequency range. And the same goes with the nose and the nostrils. You know, both nostrils are the oh, hello, Festi. Good to see you there. Good to see you, my friend.
I'm always around. I wanted to respond to that. That was a part of the my initial experience that I told you about, the top down. I started to hear the. For me, it's a high pitched sound. Sometimes, and I have noticed that the tone in the left ear is different from the right ear, and then there's actually a central tone, which originates both of the responses in each ear. And I've been experiencing that for at least 40 years now, and you know, I thought that it was tinnitus, right? And I never got checked for it, but I had my hearing checked and said that it was pretty good. But I said, well, there's this high pitched tone that I'm hearing here, and sometimes it can sound like a flute. Sometimes it can sound like an orchestra, like an entire orchestra. And sometimes it can sound like a bell or a drum or thunder. There are many different manifestations that come from this.
Well, certainly with you and your out of body work, for sure, you would hear some of those sounds. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to jump in and say, yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and yeah, it's been around for a long time.
Yeah. Well, you're doing great. How's the Shaktipat helping? Is that working for you this time?
Oh, it's so excellent. I'll tell you, it's just I had finished my midday, and I walked into the kitchen to wash dishes, and this wave of bliss just enveloped me, and I had to stop. And I just said, this is absolutely amazing. I've never had it this way. And I think that, you know, I wrote you and said, you know, I prefer for you to be at home because I feel safer that way. But I think you're right. Maybe you should take a road trip.
I can do that. Everyone is listening. I started the road trip 2 days before the Shaktipat. I do a Shaktipat week on the summer solstice from the 21st of June to the 28th or the 27th of June. And in that time, I have gone from Santa Rosa, California, through Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and now into Florida here. And
absolutely.
Definite, motel Shaktipat, I have to say. Most of the time it's been in a Motel 6 at 3 a.m., you know. I kept my watch on PST, Pacific Standard Time, so I'd know when to give it. And so, yeah. But tonight it's the divine. The divine is going to come through tonight. So, yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that about dishwashing. It makes dishwashing a whole different experience, doesn't it?
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you
for participating. Thank you all for participating, you and Rosemary and Amelia and everybody else who's listening in there. And if there's a person... Go ahead.
Actually, Chrism, there's a few people in the chat room, and Bruno has joined us, and he says that it's fascinating that you're speaking about ears, and he's delighted to be listening to you because he's had a pain in his ear all day, in his right ear all day.
Really? Gosh, I can't get into the chat room on this little iPad. I don't know how to get into that.
Okay, well, and also there was a comment from somebody else who said that when you were speaking about eyes, and they said in the Book of Love, written in the 1200s by the Cathars, there's a quote that says, we will know each other by our eyes. And many of the people this person has met who have Kundalini, the eyes always pull her in. And she also had a question, which was the people around her. 1 second, and I'll see what it says. It seems people around me have had the awakening, and also people I am around now are receiving the energy. Is this contagious in a good way, or do we put ourselves around people who are in similar states?
Well, actually, you don't get to place yourself. And Bruno, I'm coming to you. No worries, my friend. I'm coming to you, and it's nice. It's nice to know you're listening. It's good to know you're there. And just a second here. It's not that we direct ourselves towards other people. It's the divine directs us. I mean, in some way, we're like little marionettes to the divine. Once that part of us is awakened, and that feedback, energetic loop going from our fontanelle to the divine, and then back from the divine to us, it begins to manifest a form of guidance or direction that will guide people to us, but also guide us to certain people. I don't advertise, and so people get guided to the KAS1 site by that divine guidance that they have within them. And even when it's not in an expressive Kundalini or, an awakened Kundalini way, a person will have the probability or the predilection towards having the Kundalini awaken within them, and they will get guided to the appropriate source of information for them. And then as far as the effect of radiance, I believe is what this person is describing. And the radiance, yes, the radiance will fall upon other people. And it is always in a good way. Divinity doesn't really have the good, bad type thing. They just have a divine unanimity. The divine unanimity that feeds a person what they need to have in order for them to evolve further into their own divine evolution. And so as you stand next to that person in the grocery store or in the hospital or wherever, getting gas or whatever you're doing, your radiance is flowing upon everybody within the signature of that footprint, that radiance footprint that comes from the awakened Kundalini person. And I just did a video on that, and I'll be putting that out on YouTube. And what I did is I visited a crater in Arizona. It's right off of the I-40, and this crater is humongous. It's an asteroid blast that happened about 50,000 years ago. And, the first thing I thought of was a Kundalini radiance footprint. So go ahead and if you can get to the YouTube channel at Chrism, and just go chrism.kundalini, and that'll take you there. But anyway, yes, and congratulations. Now, I also want to touch on the Cathars. The Cathars were very, very cool people in very interesting ways, and of course, any belief system that practiced what they practiced, would because back then people were flowing to them like crazy, and the Catholic Church was afraid of losing power, and the priests of the Cathar religion were a man and a woman, and they didn't build churches. They chose to worship in meadows or in the forest. The forest was their church. The meadow was the church. The earth itself was the church. And so they had a very, very, very interesting takes on divine practice and divine interaction, with the environment. And so, yeah, the Cathar people are very cool, and if she can go ahead and let that tell us about that book more, if she's still on the chat room, I think people of a Kundalini nature would benefit hearing some point of view from the Cathars. They weren't without their own issues. They did have their own issues, but they were far closer to the truth at that time than I think any other system that was flourishing at that time. You have to remember that Hildegard, Saint Hildegard, was also flourishing at that time in the 10th century, and she was also Kundalini awakened. So, yeah, the early Cathars, bless their continuing spirits. Bruno, you have a pain in your right ear now. Is it a pain that is like what you get if you're going to have an earache? Amelia, can you translate this for me? Because I can't get into that chat room.
Well, I'm assuming he can hear you, so I'll let you know if he's typing. I'll put this into the chat room as well, okay? So,
yeah,
and what he said was, yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
Well, he just said that he has had a pain in his right ear all day. So maybe I'm typing now, so that's...
Okay, well, there's a few things, and I think I discussed this last time, was that during the Kundalini awakening, the eustachian tube, not the eustachian tube, but the ear canal can twist. It can spiral. And in that spiral, if you take a shower or you go swimming or something, certain amounts of water can be left on the ear canal, and that can form into a boil or into a kind of like an inner ear canal acne, and this can be very painful, very, very painful. And I'm going to suggest that go to your MD if you need to, but what they'll give you is some pain remediation, and I'm okay with that. I don't need you struggling to be in pain. But the other option is that the Kundalini, or the other possibility is the Kundalini is working on your right side in your right ear, and if it's just a brief what I'm getting is like a little stabbing pain, not a consistent pain, but like a little stabbing pain. You may feel an action of grace upon the actual eardrum. And the eardrum can begin to, because the eardrum's very, very sensitive skin or tissue, and the eardrum can begin to respond to the action that the Kundalini makes upon it in a subtle pain. This is pain that if an MD were to scope your ear and look at everything would look normal to them. They go, oh, phantom pain, right? But this isn't phantom pain. This can be Kundalini activation pain, unless it is, of course, something else that's occurring with regard to an inner ear boil or an infection of the ear. Make sure that you. What I like to do, and I don't know if this is medical advice, so I'm just going to say what I like to do for myself is I like to dip a Q-tip in some hydrogen peroxide, and I just kind of wash out the ear canal with that right after I take a shower. And I have to say, this is from Barbara, who's there at the ashram. She does this. She kind of passes it along, and it seems to work pretty well. It keeps you from having those inner ear boils. So unless it's that, Bruno, and if it's something that's just started with the Shakti pot, if it just started with the Shakti pot, then I want you to see it more as a purification, a level of purification that's occurring right now that is taking place in your sacred male. Let's look at the sacred male inside you, Bruno, and let's see where he is being honored, where he is being heard. Is the sacred male being heard by you? Are you allowing your sacred male to be heard by others? Look at the relationship that you have with the sacred male in your life, or the sacred males in your life, your father, the male, the tapestry of male energy within your life, and look at that. And as you start to look at that, maybe you need to forgive somebody who would qualify as a sacred male quality in your life. And if you can do that forgiveness, see what happens to that pain. See what happens to that pain. Kundalini is typically very responsive, extremely responsive. So if it's of a Kundalini nature, see what a little forgiveness can do. If it's just something that's not real painful, it's not, let it go for a little bit, but if it continues to go, then I want you to have your ears scoped, see if it's an inner ear boil. I like to lance them myself, but we'll see what your MD says. And then maybe you can also Skype with me about this too, Bruno, and I can maybe just put something into you that will help you de-exit and to deactivate it as well, unless it's, of course, of a Kundalini nature, which if it's that, then I won't touch it. I trust the Kundalini in you implicitly. Okay. All right. Let's see how we're doing here on time. Okay. I have 14 minutes, so anybody else that wants to call in, any of you that are on the chat group that I can't see at the moment, feel free to call in with a question, 347-934-0026. Once again, it's 347-934-0026. And I'm going to go ahead and continue with the systems, and I was talking about the nose. Now, many of you who understand... Hello?
Can I interrupt you?
Yes, of course.
Sadly is the person who was writing about the Cathars, and she says she will post about the book on the Yahoo group and give a link to it. And Bruno says...
Thank you very much.
Okay, and Bruno says, thank you very much for all your answers. The pain is accompanied by a lot of fatigue all day long, and it was very difficult to practice the Tibetans because of this.
Oh, it was accompanied by fatigue. Well, that puts it into a Kundalini scenario. Good. He needs to look at the sacred male and the honoring of the sacred male in his life. The Shiva, the Christ, the Father energy. Okay? Look at that. Listen to that. Ask it a question. Ask me a question. I am also a representative of the sacred male, and so ask me a question about something that is maybe been plaguing you, Bruno. You can do it in a private email or on a Skype or whatever. You don't have to do it here on the air, on the chat room. Source yourself. See where it is that there may be an issue that's been with you for a while. Something that has to do with receiving information, receiving a communication, hearing a voice, hearing an idea, hearing somebody else who may need to be honored or who may need to be listened to in your life. The Kundalini doesn't typically give you pain without a reason, and you should always be able to discern that reason by asking the Kundalini in you yourself. And I'm going to suggest that you do that first. If it's sapping you of your energy, then just use that as a way of an indication saying, okay, Bruno, slow down. Meditate. Go into a communication with your Kundalini. Ask the question, what is this? And what am I to learn from this? And see what may come to you within the Kundalini language. And I may have mentioned before in other programs that the Kundalini language consists of symbols and ideas and pictures that are personal to you. Okay? So ask yourself, go into that meditative state, slow down, go into the meditative state, greet the Kundalini by name, ask it this question first, and let us know. Let us know how this goes, unless the Kundalini says don't let them know. Keep it to yourself. Sometimes that occurs. Okay, all right, and then I'm looking back here. Let's see. Okay, all right. The nose. The Ida and the Pingala, these are the rivers of energy that circulate around the main river, the Mississippi, which we'll call your spine, the spinal cord. That main river that connects the ocean of Kundalini to you has two other major currents or rivers of energy that go in different directions around each chakra, kind of weaving themselves up, all the way up and around, and they terminate at the nostril on both sides of your nose, the upper lip of the nostril, about 1/8 of an inch inside the upper lip of each nostril, and so this is a huge energetic position in the nose, in the nasal membrane, and you can smell words, you can smell colors, you can smell identification. It is no accident that almost many of the other mammals and the reptilians, they can smell identification. They can smell information. It's only people that don't really have that capacity, and it's probably just people in the West, because the Western people, we're used to our gadgets, and so we don't necessarily have a lot of interest in the natural skills that this body has to offer, and the scent, smelling is a very, very, very psychic thing. The Kundalini, of course, will honor that sensory, and it will come as a certain kind of lily, a beautiful lily smell, and Amelia and I smelt that at Lourdes in France, when we were walking down, and another person we were traveling with, we all smelled this beautiful, beautiful scent where there were no flowers at all. And we knew, each of us knew it was a Kundalini origin. Okay, the Kundalini will also come to you as the gift of the scent of roses, or the gift of the scent of incense. As you would burn in a Buddhist, in a Buddhist format or a Hindu format. The nose and the Kundalini are very, very, very strongly connected. And the nose, as the Kundalini comes up, certainly if you're doing the alternate nostril practices or the pranayama practices, which is the alternate nostril practice, the Ida and the Pingala become stimulated, those two rivers that course around the Sushumna, which I always mispronounce, the spinal cord, which I don't mispronounce, as they circulate around the spinal cord, they terminate right there. And so many of the ancients would use stimulative techniques, such as pranayama, alternate nostril breathing, in order to stimulate the one river that's called Ida and the other river that's called Pingala, as they circulate around each of the 7 chakras. Okay, so the nose and Kundalini are amazingly connected, especially 1/8 of an inch inside the upper lip of each nostril. And you may get an acne there. For those of you that have the Kundalini awakened, you may get an acne there. It's normal. Don't pick it. It's normal. It is. It'll feel definitely like a kind of like what I was describing an inner ear acne to be. It'll feel just like that, and it is basically an overstimulation or an overexpression that is coming from the ida and the pingala in the upper lip of the nasal mucosae. Okay, and so don't let it bother you. It'll irritate you a little bit, but just be all right with it. Let it alone. Let it alone. If you feel like you need to go at it with a Kleenex or something like that, your Kundalini tells you to do so, then do so. Otherwise, just let it heal. It'll back down. It'll back down again. No worries. Try not to pick it. Try not to let it get infected by you constantly touching it with your finger. Okay? Very important with that. Now let's talk about the mouth and the tongue and the teeth. I don't have much time. I got 4 minutes. The tongue is one of the major switches, the master switch. So when I'm telling you to put your tongue up behind your upper front teeth, well, this is a Taoist technique. The ancients of the ancient China, the Taoists, they did a lot of really positive work with helping a person accept and surrender to the Kundalini. And one of these surrendering techniques was to put the tongue tip behind the upper front teeth. Well, there are 4 other lingual positions that I know of where you basically follow the soft palate back towards the nasal entrance, and if you stick your tongue up the nasal entrance, that's called Kachari mudra in the Sanskriti context. And they use that in order to drink pineal sweat, or amrita as they call it. And you don't really, if Kundalini's already active in you, you don't need to be drinking, pineal sweat, just leave it alone. But the other lingual positions are very important, especially the first one. Putting that tongue tip behind the upper front teeth connects the many of the major systems with the Kundalini, the front, the back, the top, the bottom. And so do practice that. You'll notice that with the Kundalini, your tongue tip will go there automatically. Your tongue tip will go there automatically. And the tongue is huge. Boy, I don't have enough time to get into the tongue so much here, but it is a big deal. And as I said, there are different lingual positions for different types of things. Know this, and know that as your Kundalini guides you, it'll guide the position of your tongue on the roof of your mouth, otherwise known as the soft palate. Okay. If you've been born with a certain cleft palate or something don't let that freak you out. Put your tongue tip behind those up front teeth. Nothing's wrong with you. Everything's right with you. You are the way you need to be. Okay. So don't worry about that. Put your tongue tip behind those upper front teeth and let that do its work for you. I want to thank Amelia Santara for putting this program together. I'd like to thank Eileen Laurel for helping the Kundalini Awakening Systems organization in the many ways that she has. I would like to thank you, the listener, and all of you, Bruno and Sandy and everybody, Rosemary and Fashti. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this conversation. I may or may not do another 4th one on a continuing health. Maybe you can email me at kfireforall. That's KFIREFORALL at yahoo.com, and give me your feedback and your suggestions about this. I'd like to thank Sigrid and her husband for listening, because I know they listen to this. I'd like to thank. Yes, they're telling me I have 90 seconds. I'd like to thank St. Anne, too. I'd like to thank Magali and all of the other people that are listening to the show and that listen to the show regularly. You really propel me further into doing show after show after show after show. And as a team, all of us together, we help many people who are struggling within the ignorance of Kundalini that is so pervasive in the Western world. And so thank you all for listening. Thank you all for listening live and for listening in the archives. And I will be back with you next week, this time PST, 3 p.m. PST, with another conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience. Thank you for listening.